on to Miss Phylicia Rashad.
Nastiness, yeah, man.
Yeah, on to Miss Phylicia Rashad, who jumped onto the Breakfast Club, and they talked about a litany of subjects, pertaining to her expansive career in the entertainment industry, being an esteemed actress.
Right.
But one of the things that caught everyone's attention was when they got onto the conversation of talking about ways in which women dress. And Phylicia Rashad basically expressed her views on how women today no longer dress with grace. And a lot of people had their thoughts and opinions on this. And we'll play a little clip of what she had to say there. But this says Phylicia Rashad says Gen Z women no longer dress with grace. Online fans of the Breakfast Club had mixed responses to Rashad's comments about young women's style. Phylicia Rashad, a 76-year-old actress and singer, sat down on the Breakfast Club on March 20th and slammed the way Gen Z young women dress today. Rashad spoke with DJ Envy, Jess Hilarious, Lauren LaRosa, and Charlamagne the God about everything from young women's style of dress today to acting and the late Chadwick Boseman's legacy, stirring online discourse. Charlamagne began in the viral clip. You came up in an era when dignity and grace was everything. You ever look at how wild Hollywood is now and think to yourself, boy, y'all got it easy. Y'all wouldn't ever get away with what we did. Rashad responded, well, you have to look at Hollywood and I'll look at how young ladies dress. So I'm going to actually skip through this because I want to, play the clip. So let me go ahead and just stop presenting this real quick because I do want to come back to that. And I'm going to go ahead and share this other one of her actually saying this. So here is Phylicia Rashad on the Breakfast Club during this brief part of the overall interview when she's talking about, younger women and how they dress and lacking in grace and so on and so forth.
Came up in an era, Miss Rashad, where dignity and grace were everything. But you ever look at how wild Hollywood is now, and you just think to yourself, boy, y'all got it easy. Y'all wouldn't have got away with that in my day.
Yeah, you'd have to look at Hollywood. I could look at the way young ladies dress.
I knew I should have worn some other pants.
You got your
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about
elbow, shoulder over here. You want my coat?
The young ladies are so beautiful. They're so beautiful. And something has happened in popular culture. And I don't mean to be critical, and I hope young ladies listening don't take this as personal criticism because I don't mean it that way. But you're young queens. I'm taken aback when I see on a college campus young women dressed in strips of clothing. But more importantly than that, no man wants his woman to be out like that. Right?
I grew up on Method Man saying, wearing 3/4 of cloth, never showing your stuff off. Boo.
That's right. But not only that, it's like there's today's designers. I mean, there's ways. There are other things, and I just
leave something to the imagination.
Yeah,
it would be nice.
Some things are for my eyes only.
Yeah, and like you said, there are ways of being sexy without showing so much.
Oh, please, and that's really not sexy.
Now, it seems reasonable enough to me. I do want to go back to the article real quick because I do want to read a couple of the people who commented on this. Read a couple of the comments rather. So the viral clip of Rashad on the Breakfast Club was reposted to the Shade Room, and the comment section beneath the post blew up with discourse about her comments. One user supported her sentiment, writing, "Elegance and class are so underrated nowadays. Phylicia Rashad embodied all of that." Another wrote, "I remember being a child and I couldn't wait to get old enough to carry a briefcase and wear power suits to work because of watching attorney Claire Huxtable. She exuded so much beauty." Others expressed their discontent with the way Rashad slammed young women. One user reminded commenters that Rashad also defended Bill Cosby, so I would tread lightly. The narrative of women centering their decisions around men's approval is so tired. That's why I'm glad the new generation is moving away from it. Another pointed out that the age gap between baby boomers like Rashad and Gen Z has led to a disconnect in fashion trends, and that clothing items don't seem to change how women are treated in the community. That generation was covered and still got abused and treated horribly. One day, as a community, we're going to address the real issue, but I digress. So I just wanted to read a couple of the dissenting comments. And I'm gonna come back to that. But what did you think about that? What did you think about what Miss Rashad had to say?
I mean, of course, I agree with Sister Rashad right there. And by the way, you know what I'm saying? I caught a healthy chunk of that interview, man, and yeah, man, she was dropping jewels on there. So it was a decent interview. You know, when Breakfast Club just get out of the way and let people talk that got something to say, it's pretty decent. So she was dropping some jewels on there, and this was one of them, man. And you know, I couldn't agree more. You know, but of course, you know, you know, I'm some, you know, chauvinist pig, you know, misogynist over here that doesn't want women to be free, apparently.
Yeah.
Listen, I would say that, of course, yeah, leave something to the imagination. Don't go everywhere with your ass out. And you'll get respect. But, you know, for those dissenting comments where it was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying, y'all was fully covered or whatever, y'all still getting abused and treated horribly. And, you know, for those people with those smart ass comments, so what do you think? Showing your ass gonna make you feel better about getting your ass whooped and treated horribly? Is that what we're doing right now? So to me, honestly, I don't see what any of those people that had, especially, you know, you sitting there talking about she defended Bill Cosby. Like, what the hell does that have to do about you having some class and some standard about yourself? So so those people that have those comments, they always go for some type of low hanging fruit in order to make them feel better about somebody telling them they have to be accountable and have standards. And nowadays, whenever you do tell somebody to have standards or some level of decorum, okay, you know, you're being called the one that's out of pocket. And we talked about this low key kind of earlier when I was talking about with music and stuff, and there's just no standards. That's across the board.
Yeah.
There's no, the lack of standards is going on everywhere. So when it comes to how to dress, how to carry yourself, how to be respectful, like there's none of that now. And honestly, the more unhinged you are, the more you are rewarded in this psychopathic culture. Like, you know, the more narcissistic you are, the more you're on, you know. And the psychosis of that we cover on a weekly basis here, you know what I'm saying, is mainly coming from people who are on. So it's refreshing to have somebody like Phylicia Rashad, or somebody that was in the industry, somebody that was actually in Hollywood, you know, still moving around with grace and dignity. If there's anything you can take from Phylicia Rashad, you can say she agreed with Cosby. You can say anything else. But one thing you can't disagree with, that this woman walks around gracefully. She has class. She's always had it. So why disrespect that? So, and if there's one thing you want to hear from a woman, you know, from like Phylicia, it's to how do you carry yourself like that? And so for her to say, hey, you know, it starts with how you present yourself, I think I would take heed to that. So honestly, I agree with her. Of course, those dissenting comments, I do not agree with those. But those are just my initial thoughts of Miss Phylicia Rashad setting a record straight for all of the scandalous clothes that you see nowadays. And by the way, like you said, leaving nothing to the imagination. I mean, just going to the grocery store, okay? You'll see a woman, I mean, just naked. I mean, naked. You know, either with the short shorts or they're wearing clothes with nothing underneath, where you could just see everything. And they call themselves coming from the gym. Bro, I don't know how you live in the gym, boy. That thing crazy. Because they call themselves coming from the gym and then going grocery shopping. And so you ain't wearing nothing. But yeah, man, nothing to the imagination. Everybody's in scantily clad. Yeah, man, it's just the way of the world. But what are your thoughts, bro, on what Phylicia Rashad had to say about you know, the current state of modern women dressing, and honestly, what some of the people in the comment section had to say? What are your thoughts, man?
Of course, I agree with her. A couple things here. And the only reason why I want to address the dissenting comments is because I imagine that
yes.
those comments speak for the lion's share of people who don't agree with what she had to say.
Absolutely.
So, you know, first of all, Rashad also defended Bill Cosby, so I would tread lightly. The narrative of women centering their decisions around men's approval is so tired. That's why I'm glad the new generation is moving away from it. Okay, so first of all,
Lord have mercy.
Her defense of Bill Cosby is irrelevant to this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
That is a redirect. You know how I feel about that BS communication tactic. One has nothing to do with the other. That is Charles Barkley saying you shoot bad from the free throw line, you need to work on that, and a person saying you didn't win championships. Right. What does one have to do with the other?
Agreed.
Do you shoot poorly from the free throw line or not? Yes or no? Is what he's saying correct? Yes or no? So why are you trying to redirect the conversation elsewhere? So right away, whoever commented on that, you dismiss those people as people whose opinions shouldn't even be taken seriously or listened to. That's ridiculous. It's irrelevant to the conversation. Furthermore, this notion that you know, the narrative of women centering their decisions around men's approval is so tired. So according to that logic, according to that logic, women dressing without grace is symbolic of them making decisions independent of men's approval. Make that make sense. What does you dressing gracefully have to do with men's approval? I would even take it a step further. If you're dressing like what she's describing, if you're dressing thought pocket, if you're wearing the whore's uniform in public, I would suggest that you're doing that for the attention of men.
Exactly.
Therefore, your decision to dress that way in a roundabout way does center around men's approval.
Exactly.
Because you're doing it to elicit a particular kind of reaction from them.
Absolutely.
So you're cutting your tail off with your own argument. Doesn't even make sense. But see, a lot of these people are out of their minds. Correct. They just want to be able to do whatever they want.
Right.
There's no logic inherent in any of their opinions. They want to watch the world burn. They're like the Joker in The Dark Knight.
Yes.
Some people don't think about what they're doing. They simply want to watch the world burn. And that's what these people are. They just want to watch the world burn. There's no logical way to wordsmith your way around what she's saying here. You just want to dress like that because you want to.
Right.
Stop trying to apply some faulty logic of you wanting to make your own independent choices to it. Like, what are you doing? Don't tell me you dress like that because you're wanting to feel better about yourself. You're doing it to elicit a particular kind of reaction.
Exactly.
Now, whether you're dressing that way and you're going to actually cash in on that reaction and take it a step further, that depends on the individual. But the point is, dressing that way will elicit the reaction. You do it anyway. Therefore, I must surmise that you don't mind or, in fact, welcome the eliciting of that reaction via dressing that way.
100.
So how does that mean that you're not doing it in some tangential way for some kind of a man's approval? Whether that approval is in the form of attention, that's usually what the form of approval is. It's a kind of attention.
Yeah, it's just attention.
Yeah, so get out of here with that nonsense. I don't want to hear that BS. So, so it's like I'm not buying this stuff. Like you're all of this mental gymnastics over this stuff. People just want to do whatever they want, and women want to wear whatever they want. They want to wear whatever they want. Period. Trying to rationalize why this is okay is wasted energy. Stop trying to. You're not going to trick me. You're gonna Jedi mind trick. You think you're gonna actually convince me that you're doing this to empower yourself or not doing it for a man's approval? You think I'm gonna believe that? That somehow these are different times and therefore dressing like this doesn't absolve you from some of the things that women used to go through previously? What the hell does that have to do with anything? Like I'm the biggest, like, going back to my generation, of course. I'm a big fan of the golden era of the black actress. So, Nia Long, Regina King, Angela Bassett, and some of the women that are around that same age, like Regina Hall. Who are some other ones? A whole gang of them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a big fan of that era. That's the golden era to me. Those women didn't dress like that. Do you think them not dressing like what Phylicia Rashad is describing took away from my desire for them?
No, absolutely.
Do you think I wanted those women any less because they weren't dressing naked in public all the time?
Oh, no, of course not.
Of course not. So what rationale can you possibly give me to explain this away other than I'm doing this because I feel like it and I just want to? Like what we were talking about with the music conversation, and it's like, look, man, at the end of the day, we can talk about divisiveness and all of this other stuff, but at the end of the day, some of this stuff is simple. There's no creativity, period. With this conversation, this stuff is simple. You can try to hit me over the head with logic and philosophy, talking about men's approval or lack thereof, what women went through before or lack thereof, throwing in Bill Cosby to try to confuse me if you want.
Unbelievable.
But at the end of the day, you're doing this because you want to, because for you, it's redeeming to put on a whore's uniform.
Yep.
Like, let's just put the truth out there and be honest about it. But do not tell me that, we need to get that dressing this way is symbolic of women moving away from doing things to seek men's approval. That is so ass backwards because you're literally dressing like that to elicit a reaction from a man. I guess if you're bi-curious, maybe you're doing it to elicit the reaction from women.
Yeah, they're doing that too. Yeah, they're doing that too.
But the majority of them are doing it to elicit, put it this way, the vast majority of them are doing it to elicit sexual reaction.
Yes. Whether it's male or female.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's what she's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The essence of her message is not doing that.
Correct.
But people don't get that. They take that as an affront. Oh, you're telling me I can't do whatever I want.
Right.
So of course I agree. Of course I'm buying what she's selling. Of course I agree with her. People are conflating grace with not being naked.
Correct.
Which is the dumbest thing in the world. Well, not people who take issue with what she said. They're conflating not being naked with grace. And the two are mutually exclusive. But tell that to somebody who wants to watch the world burn and do whatever they want.
Now, I agree with that. And I've said this before, and I forgot what topic it was, but I was saying that because I'm going to go a little gal brain real quick. But when people are sexually off balance, they're easier to control. And the base animal thing that are in humans is sexuality. And when they throw off your base, you've got no foundation. So you end up wrapping yourself up in saran wrap because you're off balance. And being on your square. So what Phylicia Rashad was mentioning was just being on your square as a human and carry yourself with dignity and class. From there, you got that little area, that sexual animal level under control. You have to have that animal level under control. For men, when their animal side is out of control, they buy sex. So they either buy it physically with money, they buy it with giving women attention, all kinds of ways men can buy sex.
Right.
That's when they're out of pocket. So if a girl put a thirst trap picture up, it's all those comments of the guy. They didn't physically buy anything, but they gave their physical or their emotional or spiritual currency to that woman.
Yep.
So they were buying something. When a woman's out of pocket, she sells sex. So you can sell sex literally like an S worker. You can sell it figuratively, like online, just showing feet. Or you could be one of those people that's selling it like emotionally and spiritually, like somebody that's claiming they coming from the gym with your ass hanging all out in the store. No, damn well, you could have put on clothes. But you're around here parading around naked for any kind of sexual attention. That's the crazy part. Like you just mentioned, like, hey, it could be male or female. They're just seeking sexual attention. And that appetite of feeding a sexual is you selling sex.
Right.
So you're out of pocket and out of order. And it doesn't stop there. So when that person tries to get into a relationship, tries to get into something functional, tries to get into something monogamous, this is full circle, try to get into something monogamous, they don't know how to keep it in the pants because they don't know how to control their sexual desires. So if it's a woman, she can't help but to sell herself. Oh, I just posted a picture online. I still love you. Why do you want this man's attention? You're out of order because you're trying to sell sex. Same reason why a woman gets out of pocket and get mad at a dude because he's sitting there lusting over women online when he's supposed to be sitting here monogamous. Hey, man, I was just liking her pictures. Yeah, but you're buying sex when you got me.
Same dudes who when they at the house and that girl go out or go to the store or leave the crib, they got to put on the corn.
They got to put on the corn. Where are you at, bro? So my whole thing is people are out of order. And naturally, when somebody like Rashad or anybody else calls out that thing, that demon that's hiding inside of you, the first thing it likes to do is defend itself. So, of course, those people just ran to the comment section and said any type of fallacy type of argument in order to make themselves feel better about the craziness that they live with. So, of course, those people left those comments. Of course, they didn't like what she had to say. And of course, they don't like what I have to say. But I'll tell you like this. All right. By being on your square, by being balanced, and by working with, and that's why you also mentioned they bombard people, even if you ain't trying to search the foolishness, they're just throwing it at you. You just online, just trying to do your thing, and they're still trying to sell it to you. So of course, naturally, people that aren't trying to parse this out and trying to have a mind of their own or whatever, of course, these people are just falling victim to it. So yeah, man, you gotta have a mind of your own out here. You gotta be in your square. You gotta be balanced and understand that your sexual desires, your most animal level of yourself, is constantly under attack in order for it to control you. So yeah, man, just be on your square, know what's going on, evaluate things, and don't take everything for face value because it could be something else behind that. So Phylicia Rashad telling women to dress with grace was just her way of telling women and everybody else in between that y'all need to be on your square as a person. And I don't see anything wrong with that.
No, there isn't. There isn't anything wrong with it. So yeah, I buy this 100%.
100.
People just lack congruency. Just like what we talked about in the first topic, people who approach dating in a non-traditional way get offended when something non-traditional happens to them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, you don't do things in a traditional way, so how can you maintain traditional expectations? It doesn't make sense. And people who are ruled by their sexual energy, consort with other people who are ruled by sexual energy. And when the sexual energy is done, when something happens to you as a result of a person who's ruled by their sexual energy, you can't maintain this position of being righteous or someone did something wrong to you because you're living in that same energy.
Correct.
You're a part of that same ecosystem.
Correct.
So I don't understand what it is that you're upset about. Like you got people who are posting thirst. You have people who post regularly, leveraging their bodies on social media often.
Mm-hmm.
And those same people will get upset if their significant others like someone else's pics on Instagram.
Right.
In all likelihood, that's what brought y'all together.
Exactly.
So it's like, you think that this person's going to turn this off? Like, what wild west world are we living in? But if you try to suggest that this isn't necessarily somebody being on square, they'll just hit you with the redirects and make it about things that have nothing to do with the central conversation, all because you tried to tell them that they shouldn't be able to do whatever they want whenever they want. Which at the end of the day is my belief that what people want. People want to do whatever, dress whatever, dress however, think however, live however, go wherever. That's what it is, man.
Yep.
That's what it is, bro. So I just look, man, and this is the very last thing that I'll say. This particular kind of conversation isn't about challenging the merits of dressing with grace versus not dressing with grace. Rather, it's about challenging what is grace. That's what these anarchists want. They're not debating with, like, people who don't like what Phylicia Rashad had to say. They're not debating with her whether dressing with grace is appropriate or whether not dressing with grace is appropriate. What they're really doing is debating the notion of grace in and of itself.
Yeah.
What they are trying to get to is, why can't I dress like that and not be graceful?
Right.
Why isn't what I am doing grace?
Right.
Why is your definition of grace the right one and mine the wrong one?
Sick, bro.
That's what it is. It's social deconstruction. Where they're trying to make new definitions for things. So for hundreds of thousands of years, we always universally agreed this is graceful. But now all of a sudden we want to deconstruct that to create a new definition of what grace is.
Madness.
So that we can live in a world where I am forced to look at a woman who's wearing the whore's uniform, but still think of her as elegant and graceful.
Yeah, you can have that.
Right. But
I know.
That's the kind of alternative reality that is attempted to. That's the kind of alternative reality that is attempting to be constructed. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, this conversation isn't even about challenging whether dressing one particular way or another is graceful. Rather, it's about getting into the weeds with redefining what grace even means. Period.
Crazy, man.
That's what they want, man. I'm not down for it, but I get their game though. Like, I know what you anarchists are looking for.
Hey, man, and let us know down in the comments, y'all. Do y'all agree with Phylicia Rashad? Y'all agree with us? Y'all think we just old people stuck in our ways? You know, us boomers need to get with the times. Let me know, please.
They probably do think we are boomers. That's funny.
Yeah, well, we talk like boomers.
Yeah, which is crazy. Shouts out to Phylicia Rashad, man.
Yeah, man.
10 toes down.